So I was just going to make some commentary on the media first on what you said. There's a very good skit where Steven Crowder went to the Google headquarters in Texas, and someone asked him about media and objectivity. And what his advice was, it was interesting. If somebody said, "Is there any source you rely on for objective media?" He goes, "It doesn't exist." He's like, "My advice to you is look at the most biased sources, but on each side." So it's like read
Yeah.
like New York Times, Huffington Post, most of the mainstream outlets, and then read like the Daily Wire, Fox, Breitbart, or something, because it's kind of like two different worlds. But he was saying like, people used to say, oh, Fox is right wing, CNN is neutral, MSNBC is left wing. Does anyone think CNN is neutral anymore? I mean, if you unless you all you watch is that, it's like, no, nobody believes that. And even Walter Cronkite, who was considered like an objective journalist, he famously said something like, "You can't be a newspaper man and not be a liberal." So he admitted that he had his own biases and all. It's just the difference was back then you only had a few channels, whereas now as you have all these channels, you have all these online sources and everything, so you can fact check and compare. And some people have argued that's led to the divide, but no, it's just there's no like group or a few groups that have basically a monopoly on information. So it's just all these competing ideas. And Michael Malice has some good commentary too, talking about yellow journalism during the Spanish American War and the government trying to push stuff to get the country to go to war. So like, and then of course you want to go further back, we could talk about people being arrested in Britain and elsewhere for saying certain things. We could talk about blasphemy laws. We could talk about the Catholic Church. Like the idea that there was like a golden era of objective journalism, it's never existed. Like as far as we know, it's always been partisan, bias, establishment, however you want to put it. Like there's never been this era where it's like you're just reporting you're just hearing facts reported to you. So that's pretty much just what I
Yeah.
had to say.
And with that, I had introduced that thread about the purple pilling. There was somebody who commented below about talking how this person's a fence sitter. She was talking about, oh, purple pilled, and saying purple pilled is worse than being completely blue pilled. And I think I kind of agree with Brian. I think it was Brian who had said
Yeah.
that. But
Yeah.
I went further and said one thing that normally happens, it's kind of an agnostic position. But
Yeah.
somebody is agnostic normally when they're moving away from something. That fence sitting is normally moving away from something.
Yeah.
Nobody ever just comes out and posts out on the fence. They're
Yeah.
on one side of the fence and then they hop onto the fence. And chances are the momentum normally carries them over
Yeah.
to the other side of the fence from where they've left. And with religions, it's not going from being a believer in the religion, from being a non-believer and then you fence it. If
Yeah.
you're a non-believer and you go to belief, you don't go to agnostic phase. You just all of a sudden start believing. It's normally people leaving a belief in a certain faith and then they cross over and then they go somewhere else. They could go to another faith or they could go away from just faith in that category of things. So in this case, you're talking about politically, they're going to come up from that position, and then they go. Most people, I think, will eventually go over, and then they'll start realizing also, like, hey, we've seen post a Trump time when you have the Republican Party, the establishment is the establishment. This whole idea of rhinos, we've put some memes up about it. It's bunk. Mitt Romney, Lindsey Graham, Mitch McConnell, those are the Republicans. Those are the establishment. If you don't align with those people, Trump was the rhino.
Yeah.
Like that's the thing you need to realize. Trump was a Republican in name only. Like the core of the party is that uni state. And I think most people start realizing, and that's good because in the past there was people jumping from one side of the
Yeah.
same coin. Now we need to realize you're not going to make decisions in your life by flipping a coin. How many decisions in your life do you actually make to that? I put on small things. It's like if I go to a restaurant, I'm like, okay, these two burgers look good. I
Yeah.
don't know which one. I'll just flip a coin and then pick one burger instead of sitting there and trying to like. That's a small decision, but a big major decision in your life. Why would you just flip a coin? Yet when you vote in most countries in these so-called democracies, you're just flipping a coin. When you turn on TV and you're trying to watch mainstream TV, Fox or in general, Fox or CNN, or those left and right, you're flipping a coin. You're just getting two sides, two focused propaganda ideations on one thing instead of having an actual conversation and breaking into this thing with a myriad of things. So I think that whole idea, it's going to get people away from these things because CNN, as you mentioned, used to be the one that was in the middle
Yeah.
for the last 15 years. I think it was considered that, but
Yeah.
it's never been in the middle.
No.
That's the thing. And now people are realizing this. They said last week CNN was down under 1 million. That was like the first time since we've had the 24/7, I think really since 24/7 TV actually became a major thing and it started hitting that above 1 million people. That's the first time it's gone that low. Why? because Chris Cuomo is still there, because Brian Stelter is just there. I just, like, that man just, how is he on TV? Like, I don't get it. So,
he's got to be related to somebody or something.
thank you for listening. This has been a clip from an actual longer recording that I'll try to leave a link to on the screen or somewhere around here where you're listening to this.
Presents. 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 Presents.
Peasants.
Okay. Okay.